Hey guys, we're back. This time we're going to be taking a look at a game that I've been anticipating for a while now. Finally got my hands on. It's Attack on Titan: The Last Stand from Don't Panic Games. Also has a bunch of other credits on there as well. I think that they did licensing. There's a company on there for that. There's a company on there for regionalization and things like that. So there's tons of different names attached to it, but the core of the game is the same no matter what. It is a one versus many type game. It supports up to 5 players, I believe, and pretty quick play time. It is a lot of fun. It's very King of Tokyo-ish in some ways, except for one person's playing the Titan, the other players are playing the humans trying to fight them, and has a lot more to it than that too, because you have the tactics and everybody has special abilities and everything else. But we'll get right in and take a look. So of course I've already punched everything out. There's a lot of components in here, and it's going to be a spoiler here. As soon as I pick this up, it's going to give away the cool Titan standee. But I'm sure if you're looking at this video, you've probably already heard of the game, so you've already looked at it. First thing here is our rule book. There isn't a lot of rules to go over. There's a nice components list there in the beginning. It does a pretty good job of explaining it. Could have used a couple more diagrams, but in the end it explains what you need to know to get you going. And there's a ability list in the back that tells you what all of them are, so you don't have to flip through the cards. And then a kind of a cheat sheet on the back with round sequence. So the first thing of note in the game is the giant Titan standee. I'm going to move the box out of the way here. And of course, mine's already showing wear, which is not a good sign from putting it together. I wish they had made the box so that you could leave these put together. You could probably leave the Titan put together in the box if you take out the insert, but everything else has to come apart anyway. But the Titan has these legs that slip on here, and that's what caused that rip there, sliding that on. I think my one foot was cut because this one's kind of loose. You can see it wobbles even. The other one was cut kind of tight, and I think that's what caused it too, so maybe it was just a one-off. But the Titan has a bunch of platforms that go on here, and these are what you're going to be climbing around to attack it. The only thing that really concerns me is this number 4. Actually goes on this hand. You can see the slot right there, and I'm really worried that through repeated use of putting this on and off that is going to get damaged eventually, because it goes on really hard to start with. So I'm concerned about that. We'll have to see how that holds up over time. Again, I wish there was a way to build this and just leave it built. You could probably do so by removing the insert from the box. I'll give you an idea how tall that thing is. It's really cool. It looks cool on the table. I wish one of the cool things they could have done was to get different ones of these Titan standees and put them out as an expansion with the Titan and the platforms, as well as a some new cards in a package. It would have made cool little booster expansions. Don't know if they're going to go that route, but that would be cool. Anyway, we're going to push that back for now, out of the way. Next thing we have is our hit point bar, basically, for the Titan. We have this little marker that goes on here, and it slides down. The lower the health gets here, it changes color. You get into the yellow zone. When you get into the red zone, that's the kill zone. The goal of the players is to whittle the health down so it's in this red zone, and then use one of the finishing moves to finish off the Titan. The other obnoxious part of the game, which looks cool once it's put together, is the building. And I don't know if you can see on camera here, there's these little tabs in the corner. Tab A into slot B and so on. And you have to do this each time you want to play the game, because the building is too big to fit in the box. At the same time, I'm not sure how long these little cardboard tabs are going to hold up. I'm trying to put this together off camera if you hear me. But it is not easy to put together. The first couple times you're going to get really frustrated with it. It's going to fall apart on you. if you have space, I would almost say build this, glue it together, or whatever, and just leave it on a shelf, and the whole thing fell apart on me. Yay, I finished one of them. So, while it looks nice once it's done, it is a terrible design choice in the way it's constructed. As I said, you're probably going to want to glue it together or put it together, just leave it on a shelf somewhere. Don't take it apart every time. If you have to put it back in the box, though, you have to take it apart. And of course, there's another one. Just the way they did with the little tabs, they should have made the tabs different or something, more easily to interlock. I'm very interested to see how well this holds up over time. Oddly enough, the little one's easier to put together than the big one. And this goes on top like that. Just something different, maybe a little plastic pieces for the corners to hook them into, something to make it easier to put together and more durable. I really fear that these little tabs are going to wear out with repeated use, and you're going to end up having to tape the thing or glue the thing together anyway. So next we have our cannons. We have actual little wooden cannons. I thought they were plastic when I first saw it, but they're wooden meeples, basically, in the shape of cannons. And these are going to go on the building. Next we have our health tokens. These are for the player characters. Each one of them, I believe, starts with 3 health. And as they take damage, you're going to remove those from their player boards to represent that. Next we have the civilian tokens. These are represent various civilian townsfolk that the Titan is going to be trying to eat. When they eat them, you flip them over to show the skull. And then we have the player tokens. This game almost begged for having little miniatures of the figures, and I'm kind of disappointed they didn't, but it helped keep the price down. They have close-ups on one side, headshots, and then their full body poses on the other. I do think these would have been a lot cooler had they been in dynamic poses for fighting the Titans. They don't even have their maneuver gear on. It would have been nice to see them all geared up and actually in action poses while they're fighting. There's actual 8 different heroes to choose from, each with their own standee. Now one person plays the Titan, up to 4 people can play the heroes, and they have color-coded bases to put them on. And the color-coded bases are actually matched to the oversized dice sets. And there's one for each of the colors that match up with the bases. And these dice are cool and huge. So the dice are really cool. They have a bunch of different facings on there, and you're trying to roll basically patterns and things based on the strategy cards that are out, which I'll get to in a minute. But for now, you have your cannon icons. Cannons can be used to fire the cannons that are on the building. You're going to be able to fire a number of cannons up to the number that are actually there, and they do 2 damage apiece. So in a 4-player game, you got all 4 players rolling. You only have 6 cannons to work with, but each of them does 2 damage apiece. As the cannons get destroyed, you're going to have less and less chances to actually fire those. Your other option is melee. These cross swords. Melee attacks can only be done if you're on one of the platforms that are actually on the Titan. And the melee attacks do 1 point of damage. Our next icon on there is the grappling hooks, which are, these are your evades. Basically, the Titan's going to be hitting you back. You have to roll a certain number of these to dodge the attacks. Then we have our maneuver icon. These can be used to zip basically back and forth between the building or different elevations. You can go between the ground and 3, the 3 and 5 on the building, or you can go 1 at a time up the Titan. So you can go up to 1, over to 2, zip over to 3, and so on, back and forth. It goes all the way up to 8, which is on the back of the Titan's neck. So tall, it's really hard to get a decent angle on things. But anyway, yeah, you're going to be using those maneuver icons to go back and forth. Then we have the symbol here, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called or what it is. It's the one that's on the back of all their jackets, and then it has the branch of the military that they're in over top of it. And you're going to use that to change your strategy of the current card that's in play, which we'll get to when we get to those. And you can re-roll these, unlike most games where you get 1 or 2 re-rolls, you can re-roll these as many times as you want to get the symbols that you need to do what it is you're trying to do. There is a catch, though. On one of the faces of the die, there's a Titan head. Once you roll a Titan head, you lose that die. It's actually given to the Titan. So you can keep rolling, keep pressing your luck to try to get that symbol you need. Say you want a bunch of cannons, and you keep rolling trying to get those cannons. But every time one of these heads comes up, you lose that die for the rest of the turn. And the Titan gains it, and they can use it to activate their own abilities. So you're making them stronger by pressing your luck. And it's a really interesting mechanic and concept in the game. So the game uses these giant oversized cards for most of the things, which are kind of cool. First off here are the characters. As I said before, there are 8 characters in the game. I'm going to angle my camera down a little here. There are 8 characters in the game. They're all main characters from the show. You have Levi, Mikasa, Sasha, Armin, Connie, Erwin, Hange, I can never say her name right, and Aaron. And no, Aaron does not turn into a Titan. Sorry, guys. And each of them have special abilities on the bottom of their cards here. These are their health. You put the 3 heart tokens on there. You remove them as they take wounds. And each of them has a special ability like Levi. Levi is such a good fighter down here that when he rolls the Titan logo, the die is still locked, but he doesn't actually give them to the Titan. So that's kind of cool. Mikasa's melee attacks, every one counts as 2 damage. Sasha can use her grappling hooks as anything. Armin can use the symbols there to go through the strategy deck at will and pick the one he wants, which is awesome. Each move for Connie counts as 2, and so on. They all have their various... Aaron's got the cool one where he takes his dice after he rolls and he can actually pass them out to teammates, which are kind of cool. Anyway, those are the characters you're going to be choosing from to play to try to stop the Titans. On the other side, we have our the actual Titan cards. There's 4 different Titans, although they only have the standee for the one, which isn't even one of the 4 in here, which is kind of funny. But they each have their own unique abilities and strengths. There's a basic, destructive, deviant, and voracious. The higher up you go, the harder they are to kill. And based on the Titan that you're playing, I kind of went over this real quick. They have these abilities. Well, they activate these abilities by spending the dice that the players give them. So the more dice that the players give to the Titan, the more powerful abilities it can trigger. And it can combine them however it wants. If you have 5 dice, I can do this and this, or I can do this bottom ability, or I can do this twice. However I want to spend the dice as the Titan player. And that's the big kicker, is that the players press their luck to get the symbols they need, but at the same time they risk powering up the Titan to be able to do even more powerful stuff. And these abilities are different depending on each of the Titans. So the next thing we have here are the strategy cards. And these are what the players are going to be using to take down the Titan. Every time you roll that symbol there, you're going to be able to flip through to the next one. Or if you're using Armin, you can go through and pick exactly the one you want. Each one has a special effect up here if you manage to pull it off. And each one has requirements down here. Now if you're playing a 3-player game or less, 2 or 3 player, you're going to only need to fulfill 2 of these requirements on here. If you're playing 3 or more players, you're going to have, or 4 or more players, sorry, you're going to have to complete them all. So in this case, you're going to need 1 player on 4, which is that platform in the back of the hand there, and they're going to need 2 evades. They're basically the decoy. You're going to need 1 player on the building on level 3, who's going to need a cannon, and then you're going to need 2 extra cannon rolls. If you succeed in this, you get this ability up here, and most of these, I believe, last for the rest of the game. And these will help you out in the long run. In this case, the Titan usually plays one viewable ability, one hidden one. Now they have to play both face up so you know what's coming every turn, and you can plan for it. Once you get the players get the Titan down into the red kill zone, they need to cycle through until they find one of these. There's 2 of these in the deck that actually have kill zone requirements. This is how you're going to win the game. And I think both of them require somebody up on 8 on the back of the neck, because that's how you get the kill shot in. And that's pretty much how the players win. There's one that actually takes you immediately to kill zone. There's ones that heal your guys. But yeah, depending on the situation, the tactics are what you're shooting for to do these major effects on the Titan. Next we go on to the Titan's actual strategy cards, and there's a separate deck of these for each of the Titans depending on which one you're using, and the abilities change depending on the strength of the Titan, how bad they are, what they do, how easy they are to combat. And the Titan player basically gets this hand, and each turn they're going to play one of these face up, one of these face down. So the players will know, hey, this is coming, we need to plan for it. This one's a secret. And sometimes you can combo depending on what you do. Like there's one, you can put together a big combo like this where big swing will knock all the heroes from 1, 2, and 4 down to the ground level on 0. And then your second ability that you play could be trample, which takes a heart from every hero that's on 0. So first thing you're knocking them all to the ground, then you're stomping on them all. Now they're going to know when you put these down, hey, he's knocking us down. They can kind of guess what this is going to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but they can plan ahead for it. On the bottom here is what the players need in order to avoid this. So if you roll 2 grappling hooks, you could avoid being trampled. Or the 2 grappling hooks, you could avoid being knocked down in the first place and then not have to worry about the trample. And so on. Some of them will counter the ability for you. Some will counter it for all players. Like in this case, you need one of these symbols for every player. So if you've got 4 heroes in play, you're going to need 4 of those, but everybody can pitch in. Whereas the avoidance ones have to be done per person. Each person needs to roll both of those grappling hooks. And if they fail or if the thing goes through, the results on the top take place, either knocking you down, in this case you destroy cannons, you lose health, these ones you eat the citizens, and so on. And again, these are different depending on the type of Titan you're fighting against. In there, the components are so big, trying to get everything into the picture at the same time is a lot harder than it looks. But the game basically boils down to the heroes are trying to drop the Titan down into the red kill zone and then use one of their tactics to finish him off, where the Titan has multiple win objectives, and as it should be, it's balanced way in their favor. The Titan can win by destroying all 6 of the cannons, by eating all 12 of the civilians, or by killing any one of the heroes. So it's a real balance back and forth. You want to protect the humans, you want to protect your health, you want to protect the cannons. At the same time, you have to deal damage to the Titan. So everything's way in favor of the Titan. So that's kind of a really cool aspect of the game. Don't expect to win every time, especially when facing off against some of the bigger ones. But I love the dice rolling mechanic in this, the way they've done it, where it's that Yahtzee King of Tokyo style, where you're trying to get the symbols you want, and you're rolling and re-rolling, and the fact that you can push your luck as much as you want, but then you run the risk of getting those Titan rolls, giving the dice to the Titans. Overall, though, it's a really cool game. I do have my concerns about some of the components. As it is out of the box, it's perfectly playable, it's fine. I worry about the longevity of the arm where platform 4 connects there, the building itself being able to hold together after repeated use of putting it together, taking it apart. I wish the box was slightly bigger so that you could put everything back in the box without having to disassemble it every time. That would be a huge bonus for the game. And even just a different way of assembling the building. And maybe a reinforcement or something of this arm. Did they need to make this see-through here? It looks cool and all, but they could have made that all one piece. and the platform like they did between the legs. You can see the white there. They could have done that on the arm as well. It would have strengthened that arm and probably made that a lot stronger. We did joke that the Titan itself is actually eating a person here. I'm not sure what character it's supposed to be. It's hard to tell. But if you're not into the violent aspect of the game, of course, you can print and cut out a picture of a soda can and put it there, and it looks like he's downing a soda. It's hysterical, especially if you're playing with little kids and you don't want to see them chomping on it. But then again, if you're playing this game with little kids, they probably already seen the show, and there's much, much worse than the show. So overall, though, Attack on Titan: The Last Stand is a really fun, quick game. You can put it together, if you can get the building together. You put it together, throw it up, play a couple games, move on to something else. And if you're fans of the show, you're definitely going to like it. It's very thematic. It feels like the show, especially when you're on the ground and you know that the Titan's going to stomp, and you're trying to get those grappling hooks on your dice so you can evade the attack, or you're trying to get the maneuver dice so that you can zip line back over and get yourself up onto the buildings. And it's that risk there. You're like, do I re-roll and try to get that? If I fail, I'm still on the ground, and I run the risk of giving them another die, which he can use. Then he's going to start eating more people, or he's going to destroy the cannons, which we're setting ourselves up for next turn. We need those cannons to shoot at him, and so on. So there's a lot of cool thematic parts to the game. And as I said, anybody who's a fan of the show is probably going to love the game. Anybody who's not, it's still a decent game, even if you're not a fan, or even if you don't even know what Attack on Titan is. You're humans fighting a giant. So even the people who aren't huge buffs of the show can still play and have a fun time of it. And I just like that aspect of it. It's really easy to teach. You're basically rolling for sets of what you want. Melee, ranged. Because it's a co-op or one versus many, the players can work together. So they can say, hey, look, we're going to try to do this strategy here. And somebody needs to get up there and get 2 swords. Somebody needs to be over here with the 2 evades, and so on. So you can plan ahead of where you want to move, what you want to do. And these tactics actually will stay once you flip one over. It'll stay face up, so you can work on other stuff while getting into those positions. Somebody needs to be up on 8 to get the killing blow on the back of the neck. Well, they might be on 6 at the time. Well, they can take a couple melee hits on 6, jump up to 7, next turn get a couple melee hits there, hopefully move over to 8, then they're ready. And so on over here, too, is you got to get people to the right floors and protect the cannons from being destroyed. At the same time, they can be firing those cannons every turn, dealing damage, moving that health bar down into that red zone. It really does take a little bit of teamwork, especially on the higher end, especially if you're playing 4-player, 5-player, 4 heroes is what I meant. The actual hardest part of the game, if you play, is doing the Titan versus 3. Because if there's 3 or 4 players, you have to meet more requirements on the tactics to pull them off. And with 3 instead of 4, you're missing out on 5 dice every turn that could be used to get those symbols you need. So it actually makes it a lot harder. With 1 or 2 heroes, I think if you play 2-player, it's supposed to be 1 Titan plus 2 heroes. The player plays both. Not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure. It would be really, really difficult to do with just 1 set of dice, is what I'm thinking. So I think it says 2-player, but I think the hero player actually plays 2 characters in that situation. Overall, though, it is a really cool game. It's a lot of fun. The standee looks cool on the table. Anybody who knows anything about Attack on Titan will see the standee on the table. They'll come over and go, hey, what's going on? If they watch a little bit of play, they see the characters in play, they see what's going on. Everybody I've seen who's come up and seen it in play has absolutely loved it. Loves the theme. Loves the fact that there's multiple different things. As I said, the only complaints I would have is the longevity of the standee based on how the platforms slide on, especially that number 4. The building could use some work to hold up in the long run. And of course the fact that there's 4 different Titans, but they only gave you the 1 standee, That I can understand in the base game, but I would love to see some of these other Titans come out as their own standees. And a small expansion pack in the future, maybe 1 or 2 new strategies. You know, another character or 2. We're into season 2 of the show now. They're starting to introduce some new people. They're introducing new Titans. So it'd be really cool to see those as an expansion pack to add a new Titan, some new strategy, and of course a new deck of strategy cards for the Titan. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for a look at Attack on Titan: The Last Stand. Definitely an interesting game if you're interested in the push your luck dice chucking fests. And I've been having a blast with it. Can't wait to see if anything else comes out for the game expansion-wise in the future. Looking forward to it. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.